Hello, Dripping Strings and the rest of the world. Welcome to the LOCO Podcast, brought to you by the Tiger Wave Network. I am Connor Cook, here with my co-host.
Logan Moore, it's nice to see you all today, to hear your voice, Connor. We're actually experiencing some technical difficulties on our end, so we're doing things a little bit differently today. Connor and I can't see each other.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit less connected.
It does, but we'll still have the same, what's the word?
Banter?
I guess so. We'll still have the same connection, man.
So what's been
We don't
going
need
on?
to see each other. What's been going on? Let's see. I watched some good movies this weekend. I watched never mind, I can't even say that. I did watch Moonstruck with Nick Cage. You ever heard of that movie?
Nope.
It's a romance movie because I've been told I look like Nick Cage. So I had to watch it. What do you think about that?
Fantastic.
That I look like Nick Cage?
Yeah.
It's a great comparison.
For the first time ever, I'd like to do a LOCO Podcast weather update because I have the weather up on my phone. It's going to be kind of chilly out today. Today on, what is this, February 10th, Wednesday, February 10th of 2021. We've got a high of 47 and a low of 34. Foggy early in the morning. That fog will let up into some scattered thunderstorms from 4, basically throughout the rest of the night. So, that'll be winds at about 10, 11 miles per hour, about those time that the thunderstorm starts. Really good conditions.
Especially if somebody has to work outside.
Yeah, if you have to work outside, it'll be lovely.
I mean, that is I don't like talking about weather. I think it's too, I don't want to be offensive, but too, normal or whatever. Oh, how's the weather? Small talk kind of thing.
No, it's not small talk. I was giving I'm actually reading the weather. I'm not making it up. That was the real weather prediction forecast.
Well, yeah, that's different, but, morally, I'm against talking about the weather.
You know what I watched this weekend was I rewatched Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which when I first watched it, I was a lot younger, and I don't think I really understood how good of a movie it was at that point in time. And I'm talking about the reboot Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the one that came out in our lifetimes. I remember when I watched it, it was cool, but it was also a little intense for me. And I remember thinking that the CGI was a little bit weird because it was back when CGI was kind of just starting to become really normal, and they did motion capture for the main character Caesar, where you have the guy with all the dots all over his body and his face.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, this was cool. I rewatched it and I realized how amazing of a movie it is. It's really story structure wise, it's just so good. I recommend you rewatching it if you get the chance. It's on Hulu.
Yeah, well, I think that they should give Oscars or something for the CGI work that happens, because it's kind of a new thing, but I think it deserves to be recognized.
Yeah, so the thing about this movie that's really cool is that they actually taught and I want to look up who it was so that I don't miss out telling you his name because he's so good.
Andy Serkis?
I think it was. Let me double check that because I don't want to be wrong.
I'm right.
Did you already look it up?
No, I just know that stuff.
Yeah, it was Andy Serkis. And he was taught how to do the mannerisms of an ape, with his face, with his body when he would walk around. But even more impressive than him, in my opinion, is the fact that you have James Franco, who is alongside him, acting next to him, and he has to do emotional scenes looking at this dude that's in this suit with a bunch of balls all over it, who's making facial expressions like an ape and walking around all hunchback. And James Franco still has to try and give a performance that's understandable and emotional. And that sounds so difficult. Obviously it's going to be hard to act like an ape, but I feel like it'd be almost even harder to be a serious actor in front of somebody doing that, right?
No, I agree, but it probably is hard to act like an ape. But
because there's scenes where the two of them are alone and staring into each other's eyes all emotionally.
Oh yeah, that would be pretty funny.
You
I'm
get
not
what
gonna
I'm
lie.
saying?
I
It's
would
like
crack up.
that would be difficult to do. And James Franco doesn't get to be turned into anything else. Like, it's actually just him staring into this guy's eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was a little bit funny.
James Franco's best performance is still The Disaster Artist, though. Changed my
A
mind.
movie that I've yet to watch all the way through. I love The Room so much, but I haven't watched The Disaster Artist. It's just not the same for me.
I showed my girlfriend The Room this weekend, and she was like, she loved it. So if you haven't seen The Room, everybody go check it out. It's a great movie,
It is a hilarious movie with
especially when
the
you're watching it with
genius
somebody
Tommy
else.
Wiseau.
Have you ever seen it in the theaters though?
The Room in a theater?
Yeah, yeah.
No.
Oh yeah, I saw it in the theaters one time. And everybody was like throwing spoons at the screen and stuff. Whenever there was a spoon on screen, because there was like stock photos of spoons, and I don't know.
You what you're
It's
saying?
one of the best movies of all time. I
All right.
haven't.
Let's do you have anything else to add, or do we want to go ahead and get into the news?
Let's go ahead and get into the news.
You want to start, or you want me to?
You can go. Actually, let's do local
I have
first.
a few stories, so
Yeah, we'll start local.
We now welcome you to the state of the drip.
So basically, I'm sorry everybody, but you look up Hayes County and COVID-19 is still everywhere. So this is what you're gonna get, like it or not. Hayes County COVID-19 vaccines are being distributed to residents all over Texas. Which so that sounds like a good thing, but I think it's Hayes County vaccines specifically should be focused on Hayes County, right? Am I wrong?
what did it say?
Hayes County COVID-19 vaccines are being distributed to residents all over Texas.
That might be just a way to use words. I'm sure that they're not like, I don't know. The vaccine role's been weird. I think that hang on. Okay, so West Virginia, this is actually really interesting to me. West Virginia had the best vaccine rollout of any state, and they were the only, like by far, not just kind of, but by a lot. And they were the only state that didn't partner up with CVS and Walgreens to get it out. Their state government took control of taking the virus or the vaccine to the citizens. And seriously, I mean, I'm sure that there were other factors, including population and what they already had ready. But I find it kind of interesting that the one state that didn't partner up with these like companies, that were going to stand to make a profit off of it ended up making a more efficient vaccine rollout.
West Virginia? No offense to West Virginia. We've talked about West Virginia before. I'm genuinely surprised though.
Well, again, it's like, okay, so the reason is that they don't have enough CVS or Walgreens in the state to justify making the deal, right? So that's the reason that they didn't do it like all the other states did, because there's just not enough CVS and Walgreens. But regardless, the fact still stands that when they didn't team up with CVS and Walgreens, it happened faster. I don't know if that says something about West Virginia or if it just says something about CVS and Walgreens. I don't know.
This is so deep. I don't know.
It's interesting. You have to wonder if adding in these companies to the mix just added bureaucratic steps that caused the rollout to be delayed. I don't know. Anyways, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I mean, it's not much to it. Basically, the vaccines are state issued an allotments of 1,950 doses at a time, which is not a lot at all. Unless the doses like a certain amount per dose, or is it just like one person per dose? You know what I'm
I would
saying?
assume that it's one person per dose.
All right, I didn't really know how that worked. I'm kind of stupid. Anyways, so the following week's doses are going to be distributed in Dripping Springs and Hayes County, and given to more residents to get more access. Um, so the pre-registration portal is filling up quickly. So more than like 3,000 Texans fit under Tier 1A, which is Tier 1A and Tier 1B. And 16,000 Texans who fit under Tier B have pre-registered in the Hayes County portal. 70,000. Wow,
Could I point
70,000
out one
Texans.
more thing?
Yeah.
The vaccine rollout was designed to be able to aid those that are elderly and in a risk category, and yet the way that we've taken on signing up for these vaccines is in a medium that the elderly are going to have a very hard time with. I've seen this talked about other places that I guess for whatever reason they spaced the fact that if you're doing a first come first serve online, the elderly are going to be the last people to get the vaccine in that scenario. They're not going to be able to get to this web page and sign up for their vaccine before all of the younger people that know how to use the internet do.
That's a great point, actually. Although my grandma, who's not very tech savvy, got her vaccine, I believe it was January 29th.
Well, I
All
do
she had
think
to all she had to do was call the doctor's office and say, "Yo, I want a vaccine."
yeah,
And they're like, "Okay."
there's other ways to do it, but I've been seeing stories of people in other states being like, "Look, I'm 75 and I wanted my vaccine, but by the time that I was able to get onto the website, it was already completely gone." And it's just interesting how sometimes the people that are making these plans say they want to do something and then seem to just completely drop the ball in trying to. I don't know.
No, very true. That's about it for me though. For on our
All right.
news side, you go ahead, take it away.
So I've got a couple news stories, and then I've got a video that I want to just share the audio of. And I think I'll start with the video because it's really, I saw it elsewhere. Some of you have probably seen it already. It blew up quite a bit, but it's worth listening to again. I enjoy this. So, are you familiar with the channel Newsmax?
Sounds familiar. That's all I can say.
Newsmax is a channel that siphoned a lot of viewers off of Fox News in the last couple of years. Much less factual than Fox News, I would say.
How is that possible?
They were one of the main pushers of the false voter fraud claims in the beginning stages of when Trump was making all these claims. It ended up being that Dominion, the voting system company that was being defamed by Donald Trump and Newsmax, sued for billions of dollars, which is actually one of the reasons that Lou Dobbs is now fired from Fox News as well. You see, it's very hard in the United States to prove defamation and slander because we have very relaxed First Amendment laws for a good reason. But what Donald Trump and these people were doing to Dominion, saying that, they were in cahoots with the communists, that they were, that their
All that
voting
stuff,
systems
I
weren't
got you.
working. If you say that a voting system company's systems aren't working, then that's going to hurt their business, right? So Dominion basically said, look, we're going to sue for billions of dollars because you're hurting our business with false lies that you can't even prove. Now, Newsmax, being a company, understands that if they continue to talk about this, they're going to be sued out of existence, right? So they came out with a retraction, and now they're very against pushing this kind of rhetoric. But Mike Lindell, you familiar with Mike Lindell, CEO of MyPillow?
Oh yeah, I've heard all about this loser.
He went on Newsmax to talk about how he was banned from Twitter and the supposed censorship of it, which is a different topic entirely. He started going into the voter fraud conspiracy and the Newsmax. And the reason this is so rich is because Newsmax for the longest time was pushing these claims. But the Newsmax host shuts him down and then shuts down the interview. And this audio is really good to listen to. So I'll go ahead and play it.
Yeah,
Actually,
I do want to hear that.
I need to make sure that you can hear it anyways.
You can just share the screen.
I'm going to, yeah. That's the plan.
Gotcha.
Yeah, figure out where it is. Here it is. There we go. Make sure to share sound. All right. It says my screen sharing is paused. Can you see my screen?
No, I cannot.
Really?
Just see
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
All right, here we go.
Mike, hold on a second. Everybody hold on a second. Mike, hold on 1 second. Let's talk a little bit about just what is happening.
Vending machines, we have 100% proof. And then when they took it down about 3 weeks ago, and then when I put it back up, my personal, it was a
Mike,
thing about my
thank you very
integrity.
much. Mike, you're talking about machines that we at Newsmax have not been able to verify any of those kinds of allegations. We just want to let people know that there's nothing substantive that we've seen. And let me read you something there. While there were some clear evidence of some cases.
We pause this so it's more clear to the people listening, because Connor, you can see his face. He's being he's being artificially, like, his volume is being artificially lowered in this clip. He is screaming right now at his camera. Mike Lindell is, while this anchor is trying to get him to get back onto the topic that they're there to discuss. Mike Lindell is screaming at the camera. I mean, it's just insane. I'll keep playing it.
Of vote fraud and election irregularities. The election results in every state were certified, and Newsmax accepts the results as legal and final. The courts have also supported that view. So we wanted to talk to you about canceling culture, if you will. We don't want to relitigate the allegations that you're making, Mike.
The big keyword there, we don't want to relitigate. Because once again, like I said, they've already been taken to court over this, and they know that they don't want that to happen again. Let's see if there's any more here.
Mike, can I ask our producers, can we get out of here, please? I don't want to have to keep going over this.
Actually,
we at Newsmax have not been able to verify any of those allegations that you're
Mike, hold on a second. Everybody hold on a second. Mike, hold on 1 second. Let's talk a little bit about just what is happening overall.
So, for those of you watching at home, yeah, they kicked Mike Lindell off of the interview. The anchor just walks off the screen.
That's pretty funny.
What a show, right?
Yeah, it's at least entertaining.
I'm heavily entertained by that. So that's a good one. You know, we're interested what all of you think at home. Of course, he was there. And the interesting thing is that Mike Lindell went on this show to talk about censorship and being censored. And instead of talking about that, he censored himself by not talk. They wanted to give him a platform to talk about how he was being censored. Okay, everybody needs to understand this. Newsmax has a lot of viewers. He had the opportunity to go on there and make his case for why he was being censored by Twitter. Instead, he decided to go and say all this crazy stuff that you're not allowed to say by law. And he lost his opportunity to make his case for why he's being censored. And the irony there is so rich for me. The fact that he could have made his case for why he was being censored and then wound up making himself censored again.
I feel bad though, like, as the kids say, this dude needs to be canceled. But like, there's probably so many people that depend on this guy for like money and stuff.
I actually disagree.
So,
I don't think he needs to be canceled. I think that he should be, you know, with people like this, I think that when you cancel them, you make it too easy for them to turn around and say that you're the bad guy. I think that what needs to happen is that clip and other clips like that of him talking should be blasted everywhere so everybody can see what kind of person they are. The reality of the situation is, even though some people are going to believe what he's saying, most understand that he's crazy. I think that really the best way to fight lies like that is to make sure everybody can see that he's lying.
that's a good point too.
And again, I feel very comfortable saying this, considering the fact that even Newsmax, I mean, they weren't just kind of against what he was saying. They said, Newsmax is saying that the election has been certified. There's no evidence of voter fraud using the Dominion systems. You know, it's a pretty cut and dry case.
Yeah.
In other news, the Biden administration on Sunday warned Yemen's Houthi rebels, I might be butchering that pronunciation, against ongoing attacks against civilians just 48 hours after moving to strike the group from a terrorism blacklist. So they took the group off of the terrorism list. Essentially, they declassified them as a terrorist group. And then 48 hours later, they had to go and condemn attacks that were ongoing. It's a very difficult situation in Yemen right now. There's a genocide that is going on, and the United States hasn't always been on the correct side of that genocide. And I think that this was an intended step towards really trying our best to correct that, but it was definitely confusing for a lot of people to see that we had taken these people off of the terrorism list, and then like 48 hours later, we have to come out against what they're doing. That's just a little interesting bit of news. I'm not an expert in this area, so I don't want to speak of too much more about it, other than the war has killed some 130,000 people, including over 13,000 civilians slain in targeted attacks. So that's horrible, terrible. 13,000 civilians dead. On to other news. One that I'm particularly interested in. You're familiar with Julian Assange, I'm sure.
Sounds familiar. That's all I can say.
Yeah. So you know Edward Snowden.
Oh yeah.
Edward Snowden, whistleblower that released documents through news agencies with a couple different not foolproof. In fact, it was actually some of his intended mechanisms for letting this information out failed a couple times, but Edward Snowden overall was fairly careful about how he released the information that he leaked. He didn't want to put anyone in danger while doing it, although he did end up causing confusion. Julian Assange is the less careful version of Edward Snowden. He is a whistleblower. He is the founder of WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks, of course, a bad thing for Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election, probably one of the reasons that Donald Trump became president. He, in my opinion, should be pardoned because I don't believe in the culture of punishing whistleblowers. I think that that's dangerous because you kind of push a culture in which the government can't be monitored by the public. Right. And I'm not a big fan of that. I like it when we can see what's going on in the government transparently. And sometimes the only way to do that is by coming out against the government, you know. Regardless, though, Julian Assange has been less careful about how he releases his information than Edward Snowden. People have died. He's put soldiers in danger and missions in danger, which I'm not a big fan of. But the story here is that the Biden administration plans to continue to seek extradition of Julian Assange. Now, Julian Assange has been, the United States has been trying to extradite him for a long time. People wondered if Donald Trump would pardon him. He did not. But he's been in Great Britain, I believe. And a British judge ruled last month that Assange should not be extradited to the United States because of the risk that he would commit suicide. The judge said, "I find that the mental condition of Mr. Assange is such that it would be oppressive to extradite him to the United States of America." The Biden administration, in the same vein as the Obama administration, does not like Assange that much. And so, yeah, they're looking for extradition so that they can punish him here on U.S. soil. So take that as you will. I'm not here to tell you what to think about that story. That is the story. Some people would argue that he does need to be punished because he's been uncareful about the way that he releases his information. I think that he could probably be punished for the carelessness of the way he did it and not punished for the fact that he did it. I think that would be an important thing to separate. I just don't like the idea of saying it's against the law to come out against the government with information.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyways,
especially when it's dangerous information.
That's the national news for today. Go ahead and get into your conspiracy corner. We don't have too long till Chris pops in here.
Good thing it's going to be a short conspiracy corner, but it's a good one. You ready?
I'm so ready.
Tell me if you think you know what it's about. I'm going to give you a hint real quick. He was a boy. She was a girl. Can I make it any more obvious?
Not at all.
Can I make it any more obvious?
What is it?
It's about
Bonnie and Clyde?
No. It's about how fans think Avril Lavigne died and was replaced by a clone named Melissa.
I'm going to be way out of my depths on this one, so go ahead.
You tell me you're not an Avril Lavigne fan?
No, sir.
Bruh. Well, basically the theory is that In 2003, Avril Lavigne either died or went missing or yada yada, something like that, and was replaced by a lookalike clone named Melissa.
There's a similar theory about Paul McCartney.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that today. Actually,
Okay.
I'm doing I want you to talk about that one. But we're just
Okay,
gonna
yeah, I can talk about that one.
start with Avril Lavigne first. So this has been going on since like 2005, since a Brazilian fan page started talking about it. So basically they think that struggling with fame at the beginning of her career, Avril Lavigne began using a body double named Melissa. And then at some point, Avril Lavigne died, so the record company was like, yo, we need Melissa to go full time. Proof has included Avril Lavigne's red carpet shots, where Avril Lavigne would wear trousers, but Melissa prefers dresses and skirts, and the supposed differences between the facial features of like 2003 Avril Lavigne and then the current Avril Lavigne. I also believe that there's clues on the
Mysterious.
songs, such as "Slipped Away," in which she sings, "The day you slipped away was the day I found it won't be the same." And there was even a shot where Avril Lavigne had Melissa written on her hand, which is very spooky, very mysterious. Now I want you to tell us about the Paul McCartney theory.
Yeah, let me go ahead and look this up in case I'm missing any information. But essentially, Paul McCartney, it's said that he died, I want to say, I mean, this is back in the 1960s that they think he died. This isn't a recent thing. Essentially, in the middle of the Beatles' career, they believe that he was replaced with a man that looked exactly like him, with a band that there's a lot of different reasons for why people think this. It's a whole phenomenon. For instance, on the Revolution number 9, when you listen to it backwards, you can hear the words "Turn Me On, Dead Man." At the end of Strawberry Fields Forever, John says, "I buried Paul." Basically, the theory is that Paul McCartney got killed in a car crash back in 1966, and the band replaced him with an imposter. The rumor is basically called "Paul is Dead," and I want to find the name of the man that they believe that it is, because they've actually, think that they've tracked down who the imposter is. Now, another clue is that on the Abbey Road cover, which is actually behind me right now, they think that it's an allusion to a funeral procession, as the John is in white like the preacher, Ringo's in black like the Undertaker, and Paul's the corpse because he has no shoes on, and George is in denim because he's the gravedigger. Which, again, this is all like total conspiracy theory.
Pretty convincing, if you ask me.
But then, John's basically denied all of it. John Lennon called the radio station that played the song backwards, and he said, "It's the most stupid rumor I've ever heard. It sounds like the same guy who blew up my Christ remark." When he's speaking about his Christ remark, there's a famous time when John Lennon said in an interview that the Beatles were bigger than Jesus Christ, and at that time that was a very controversial thing to say. He got in a lot of trouble for that. They said I was wearing a white religious suit. I mean, did Humphrey Bogart wear a white religious suit? All I've got is a nice Humphrey Bogart suit. That's what John said about it. Yeah, you get the idea. Now, one thing I would say is that if Paul McCartney died at that point in time when they believe that he died, then guess what? I think that the guy that replaced him is a better musician, and I think we should. And I think that we should, like,
respect him.
I don't think it matters if Paul McCartney got replaced, because the fact of the matter is all of that music still came out from that imposter, and in that case, I feel like we should just idolize the imposter and forget about Paul McCartney. Like, I've always thought it's a little weird to care about who's making the music. Like, oh no, it wasn't Paul. Even if Paul got replaced, the music still happened, and it's the same music, I just find it funny that they think that not only could you find somebody exactly like Paul that sounds and looks exactly like Paul, but can also make music exactly like him too.
I agree.
Anyways,
respect the clones.
do you
They're
have
doing
more?
a good job. Oh no, it's a pretty short theory. Avril Lavigne is
right.
not who she says she is.
All right, that sounds pretty good. Let's get Chris in here. You got an album ready? Let's
Oh yeah.
see what's up.
Chris.
Hey, Chris. Sorry we don't have our cameras on today. We were having some technical difficulties, so we've got to leave them off.
Okay, I will join you in the no camera.
You got an album for us today?
I do have an album today.
Nice. Let's hear about it.
All right, so the album is Once in a Long, Long While by LOCO.
Once in a long, long while. Okay, I've got it. Let me make sure that I've got the right thing here. Is this it?
Yeah.
All right. Tell me about it.
It's a lot of the songs here are just kind of relaxing to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something you might put on in the background as you do some work or something like that.
I'm noticing a pattern here. I think that you're a pretty laid-back guy. I think yeah, it seems like you really like to be able to just kind of go with the flow and like vibe.
Yeah.
You got any favorites on here?
Yeah. 3 of my favorites here would be Don't Be So Serious, Bones, and then Once in a Long, Long While.
Okay, cool. And I like the album cover again. I noticed that this one's a little bit longer than the last 2 that you've shown. Oh wow, Don't Be So Serious it's almost 7 minutes long. That's really cool. I like 49-minute album. That's pretty sizable. How about that? Anything else about the album that like interests you or just makes you think it's unique?
Yeah, like some of the songs here are actually from a game called Death Stranding.
Oh yeah, I love that game.
Yeah, so like the song Don't Be So Serious, that's how I discovered this album. It was through the game Death Stranding, and it's such...
Wow, that's cool.
I just highly recommend the album. It's really good.
That's awesome. All right, cool. Thanks. Connor, what do you got?
Well, it's actually funny that Chris mentions that because this next band that album that I'm going to recommend, I discovered them partially through a video game. So, Logan, you and I were talking about GTA earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Channel X on GTA?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say that. I'll say the name of the song. The song "Pervert" by the Descendants.
Okay. Let me get that album up.
Well, the album's called Milo.
The
Well, that's just the song that got me into the band. The album's called "Milo Goes to College" by the Descendants. And then I'll explain all about it once you pull it up, so we can get a look at it.
You can go ahead and start describing.
All right. Well, basically, these are like the godfathers of pop punk. They probably wouldn't like that name, to be honest, but like, I'd say 1985. I watched this cool video called the punk rock by this guy named the Punk Rock MBA, all about the Descendants and like where pop punk comes from. He said it was probably Milo Goes to College because they influenced bands like Blink-182, and you can definitely hear that. How do you feel about that artwork though? Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's their logo. Pretty popular.
I feel like I've seen that. Have you talked about them on the podcast before with that character?
It's possible because that's like on every album cover that they have.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think I have. I don't know if I've done the specific album. If I have, then I apologize, but I felt like it today. So, but like this is the album that got me into punk rock in general because they're more melodic with their songs and stuff, but they're still along bands like Black Flag and the Misfits and stuff like that that are more hardcore. So, I think that's a really cool thing for them to do because they're not all like mohawks and stuff. They're just a bunch of nerds, like literally Milo. It's called Milo Goes to College. Milo Ackerman, the frontman / lead singer, literally was going to college when this album came out to get a PhD in like something scientific. So, they're just a bunch of nerds making music, which basically is what pop punk is. So they kind of started that whole thing.
They're
and the
Fountains
songs,
of Wayne.
yeah, kind of. So, the songs in here that I like are Suburban Home, Marriage, Hope, Bikeage, and I'm Not a Loser.
All right.
Those are my favorites on there. So go check that out. I think my favorite is probably have to be Hope and Bikeage though. Those are pretty relatable. Actually, not Bikeage because it's about like drugs and stuff, but Hope is pretty good.
Okay.
Pretty relatable song for a lot of people, I'd assume.
Awesome.
So go check that out.
Will do indeed. I'm gonna be doing an album by the Main Squeeze. I think I've talked about them before.
You have.
It's possible, but this one's called Without a Sound. I actually really enjoy this album cover. I really like it. I don't know why. It's just something about it. Really, like, I don't know. It's deep. It's deep. This one has a couple songs that are kind of the reason that I actually picked this one. I changed my album at the last moment, Chris, because of you, because I was like, I want to get into that vibey state of mind. This one definitely has like not lo-fi, but that kind of vibe where it's just you kind of just get to, I don't know, roll down the river with it. You know, I'll see how long I can play this without getting DMCA'd. You guys hear that?
Yeah.
I don't want to play too much and get striked, but you get the idea. It's kind of got some more.
Sounds like the stuff my yoga instructor puts on.
It's got some weirder ones. That Feeling is like a bluesier thing. This one is very odd. Again, I don't want to play too much of this because I have no clue if we're going to get striked or not, but it's worth showing a second of. That one's a little bit crazier. Without a Sound, that's a bit more rock and roll. Shot is very rock and roll. It's a very interesting album. It's worth checking out. 405's like even kind of funky, like dance hall, I would say. It's very interesting. There's a lot of different stuff going on in that album. Would recommend it. They're very good musicians.
Sounds epic.
Yeah. All right. Unless anybody has something else to add, I'm gonna close this out. Chris, Connor, you guys good to go?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. Thank you everybody for watching today on the LOCO Podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully you will enjoy the rest of your day. Try to stay out of the thunderstorm and the cold rain if you can. That would be good. Peace and love. Peace and love. Connor, thank you for coming. Chris, thanks for coming on. Always enjoy your suggestions. I'm going to go listen to it right now. Take care, everyone. Have a good one.
Bye.